Hi guys, welcome to this video where we're going to be having a look at some spreadsheet formulas. Okay, in the first part we'll have a look at, as it says here on the learning objectives, this idea of absolute and relative cell referencing, and then we'll have a look at the auto sum function. In this video we may have a look at addition and subtraction formulas as well, and then in another video we'll have a look at the rest of these aspects here. So in your workbook, they take a little bit of a time out from the F and G sales and the other exercises done in lesson 2 to have a look at this idea of absolute and relative cell referencing. And the best way to explain this is if I move over to this spreadsheet on the left hand side of my screen here. Now, as you can see, this is a pretty simple spreadsheet. There's a heading called GST, and then there's a cell that's got 15% in it. Now Excel will actually treat that like a number. Okay, so 15%, which as a decimal number would be 0.015. Okay, and then there are two labels, total and GST amount, and then we've got 100 through to 400 amounts here. Just get rid of that thing there. Now you might be aware that in New Zealand GST is 15% of items that you buy or services that you use. So if we wanted to calculate the GST amount, if something say was costing $100, what we would do is we would take the $100 and multiply it by 15%. So we could put in a formula in Excel, always starts with an equal sign. So we would go equals, and then I could type 100 times. Now times in Excel is the asterisk symbol, which is above the number 8. So you have to use the shift key to get that. That's what it looks like. Or on your numeric keypad on the right hand side of your keyboard, it's right above the number 9. So times, and I could put 15%. Okay, or I could put 0.015, which is the same as 15% as a decimal. Now I'll use 15% as it's written there. Now if I push enter, okay, I'm going to get 15, which is correct. That is 15% of 100 is 15. So $15, let's say, if this was amounts in dollars there, is the GST amount. So what you would end up paying for something that cost $100 before GST is the 100 and the 15, so 115 together. Now that's all very well. Okay, this formula I've typed in here, and notice on the formula bar up here we get a copy of that. So if I click away from it and click back into it, instead of seeing 15 up on the formula bar, we see the actual formula that I typed in. Now much better than typing the 100 times the 15% is to use cell references. So I'm going to go back and delete that. So if I put back equals and then put A4 times 15%, okay, I still get 15. Now the advantage of using A4 is that I can fill this formula down here. Notice this bottom right hand corner here. Remember back on that lesson 1, I think it was, where we had January, February, March, April across the top of a spreadsheet, and we could use that fill handle to fill in the months. What we can do is we can use this fill handle here again to get it to fill in the other 3 missing formulas here. And so let's just have a look and see what happens if I click in the cell, put the cursor, the mouse pointer I should say, over the top of that bottom right hand corner, hold down the left hand mouse button and drag down, and we get 30, 45 and 60. So what's happening there? If I click in the second cell here, B5, notice the formula, remember that was A4 times 15%, now it's automatically changed to A5. Now A5 is the 200. So 200 times 15%, and that's exactly what I sort of wanted in this cell here. And if I click on the next one, notice the has changed to A6, and this is A7 now. Now this is known as relative cell referencing. I'll just type that up. this is when you get that automatically Excel automatically changing the cell for you. Okay, and oh, sorry, did not want that to be a capital. Okay, so this is an example of now set relative cell referencing, where the A4 automatically changes to A5 here, then to A6, and then to A7. Now, what is absolute cell referencing? This is simply a technical term for where you don't want something to automatically change. So let's go back to this cell here, and I'm just going to clear what we've got currently in here. And I'm going to use this 15% here, because here's a number that's got the 15% in it, and I could use that when I type my formula. I could use that cell instead of typing the 15%. You may be wondering, well, why would you bother to do that? Well, let's say in New Zealand, if GST changed from 15% back to the 12.5% that it used to be a few years ago. Let's say we had a government that came in and decided to reduce GST. So if I use that cell, and notice that's set up to looks like rounding to the nearest whole number. So let's format that cell. So I'm going to right click on it, go down to format cells, and I'm going to change that to 1%. Okay, again, that was right click on the cell, go down to format cells, click with the left mouse button, and then I can choose from percentage here to show to 1 decimal place. Okay, so the advantage of having the GST here in this one cell is that this formula automatically changed. Well, it didn't change. The 12.5% was automatically used instead of the 15% here. So let's put that back to 15% and take a look at B4. Notice that automatically changes when I type in this figure here to back to 15%. Now let's see what happens if I copy this formula down using this fill handle. Okay, we're getting some really strange results here. We're getting 0, some sort of error message here, and 6,000. So what's going on? Well, if I click in B5, notice that the A4 changed to A5, but the B1 in this formula here changed to B2. Now that's not what I want to do. I want to keep multiplying A4, then A5, then A6, and then A7, but every time I want to multiply it by B1, because that's where the GST amount is. And this is where I need to use absolute cell referencing. Sorry about the spelling here again. There we go. So how do I do that? Well, I'm going to go back to here. Let's clear this. Don't really need to clear it. I could just write over it in a minute, but I'll clear it anyway. Okay, I want to make sure that this B1 cell reference doesn't change. And the way that you do that is you put a $ in front of the things you don't want to change. So I want that to be B1. So I want the B to stay as the B. So I need a $ in front of the B. And then I want a $ in front of the 1. Okay, so that's how you fix those two things. And you can fix them independently. Like I could actually just get away with, oops, not that, with B$1, because the B is not going to change anyway, and it's the 1 I really don't want to change. But just to be on the safe side, okay, I'm going to put a $ in front of the B as well. And you could try it without the $ in front of the B. You'll find that it works just as well in this situation here. So having done that, pressing enter, let's click back in there and let's fill down now. And here we've got some sensible results. Okay, 15% of 200 is 30, 15% of 300 is 45, and 15% of 400 is 60. And notice that if you click on those cells, notice that the B1 is staying as B1 all the way down. So that's absolute cell referencing, and you'll use that at some stages. Okay, now this video has taken a bit longer than I thought it would, so I'm just going to stop this video here, and we'll move on to the idea of using auto sum and addition and subtraction formulas in the next video.